Okay, I had a request from a viewer. Someone was asking if I could show how I make my little mixing bowls. And so I thought I would try to do a demo here. We'll see how this goes. Some days my throwing is just pretty good and sometimes it's not. This is 2 pounds of clay, and I don't know why, but today it feels like a whole lot. I don't make these mixing bowls very big. I put them, sell them to a lot of people. People love these little bowls. I call them a Saturday egg bowl because they're great for making scrambled eggs and just small mixing tasks, maybe when you're mixing up, you know, like pancakes or whatever, and you have dry ingredients here and then wet ingredients here. And so you have a little mixing bowl like this. They're very pretty, they're decorative. This is speckled clay. And so I really anticipate, for the most part, doing these just in a white or a honey flux because the speckles will really give it the character. And then I don't have to do a lot of glaze work on it. And we'll see how this goes. I basically just throw a bowl, as you'll see here. But again, this feels like it's going to be I may have to get less clay. This feels like way too much for 2 pounds of clay today. And I don't know why that is. But I just center it, kind of how I do everything I throw. Center it up, cone it. This clay has been really wet and I've struggled with it some because of the dampness, but I think I finally let it dry. I wedged it up and cut it up into slices and let it sit out for a while the other day, and then re-wedged it this morning. But now she feels pretty stiff, so it's a little easier to work with. Basically, I try to get the base where I want the bottom of my bowl to be. And then get a good center on it. And then I'll try to slow down the wheel here. I'm kind of a clean potter. I keep my studio kind of clean. I really don't like to throw with a big mess. I haven't cleaned up in a while here. So I threw a bunch of mugs yesterday. And things are still a little messy here. But if you throw bowls, you kind of know what I'm talking about. You throw a bowl. They're not real complicated by any means. Bring out the center there. Try to keep my rims compressed. Try to keep a rather thick bottom in it, not real thick, but enough that I don't have to worry about it being too shallow. I like to compress the bottom with a sponge. Seems to maybe even it out a little bit. This piece is pretty centered here. I have to constantly remind myself to slow down the wheel. My wheel's a lot like my brain. It runs too fast. Something I've struggled with my whole life, but and I just pretty much pull up a bowl, press it, Normally I would keep that rim pretty thick but knowing I'm going to put a spout on this, I don't want to get it too thick. Try to get me maybe one more pull to get some size on this. Cut in there on the bottom and pull that last clay up, slow her down a little bit. That's feeling pretty good. I have a bubble in there I just felt come around. We'll take a look if we can find that. All right. Where are we at? One of the things, of course, bubbles are my nemesis. No matter how much I wedge, there seems to always be an air bubble somewhere. Once in a while I get lucky and I got them all. There's a little one right there. I think that's much. All right. So this is kind of cone shaped, as you can see right now, but we're not going to leave it that way. Push in that bottom. Yeah, I'm going to start bringing this out and shaping it a little bit. So it starts looking a little bit more like a little mixing bowl. It's got a good base on it, got a foot. Bring it out a little more from the bottom. And I'm not doing anything fancy here, but throwing a bowl. There we go. Push that out. Come right up the side. And that's a nice little ball right there. I like to use, I'll show you here when I get to this point. I have these little rubber ribs. These are really great for bowls. Try to clean it up there. Do a bowl last night and it's still dirty from it. And then just, it's gonna be hard to see, but I'm gonna go in there and really use this to shape it. Scrape the edge, dry it so it's not wet. Bring it right up the side, very gently. Taking all that slip off. And then we'll get that edge right where we want it. All right, so she's straight up. And it leaves a couple little groove marks in there, which I like. It's just character on the sides. It'll help a glaze break. I'm gonna put a little swirl in here with my finger, just push down and pull it out. So that glaze breaks real nice on it. And then I'm gonna round off this edge on the top. Use a little chamois here to just round that off. You see how that just gave it a nice little rounded edge and compresses it. That thing's just perfectly round right now. And I have this little homemade tool, just a piece of aluminum that I bought at Lowe's, and I cut it and ground a point on it. I'll take this off the bottom like that. See how that just peels off? Gives me a nice little foot right there. I think I may push that out just a hair more, shaping it. So I got a little more volume in that bowl, right down towards the bottom. And that's it. We're gonna stop right there. We're gonna put a spout on it. Hold a couple of fingers right here. And we're just gonna stretch that clay. See how I'm doing that? All I'm doing is holding two fingers there, really bringing that over the edge. I want that, at the edge of this, I may sand a little bit when it's bisque, just to try to keep it where it will pour without dripping. Do the best that I can on that for customers. There it is. See that? All right. Now I'll shape it a little bit. Obviously I pulled it just a little bit out of round right there. As it begins to dry up. And I'll shape that up just a little bit. Keep that round in it. Square that off. And there it is. I'll let this dry for a few hours and then I'll trim it and I'll put a handle on it and I'll add to the video and show you how that works. Okay, this bowl has been drying now for, I don't know, 3 hours, 4 hours. Things have started slowing down so far as how quick they dry because of the weather. It's been rainy today, so it's pretty damp. I do have a mini split running out here with air conditioning, and so that helps a little bit. But here you can see the swirl that I've put in it, and it's still pretty damp. Normally I would probably wait a little longer in order to trim this, but I'm going to go ahead and do it just for the sake of getting the video finished for everybody. So I'm gonna pop this down here. I wet my metal wheel and I center this. I don't worry too much about, unless it's a really big piece. Once I wet the wheel and I wet the rim of that piece and I put it down, it sticks pretty well to the metal. And so that's how I trim things. I will trim this stuff 95% of the trimming I do. I don't put anything down around it. I don't use a chuck. I don't use anything. I just do it like this. And I'm gonna trim this. You get to see me how I trim it. Go pretty slow. This feels a little bit rough. I don't want to grab it too much because I don't want to pull it loose, and it will pull loose occasionally. And I see getting a little bit of a groove in here. And that gives me a place to stop my glaze right there. I'll leave this bare down here. Go ahead and take that edge off. And I don't want this to be stuck out a whole lot, so I'll go ahead and take a little bit more off of that. Kind of work on getting this base where I want it. Pretty good right there. The tapping helps me know how much clay I've got to trim. After a while, if you've been doing this for very long, you'll understand that sound of how hollow it is, how thick that clay is. I don't know if you can hear that, but it's a little higher pitch now that I've taken some away. So much of this is by feel and experience. I've noticed lately when I go to wedge up balls of clay, I can just almost always pick off, 1 pound of clay, 2 pounds of clay. I've done it for about 5 years now, and you have a pretty good feel for how much clay you've got in your hand. And that's that. And then I'll put my little edge on here that I always show in my videos. We're a little bit off center, but not a whole lot there. We have that little floating mark. And then in these mixing bowls, I always tend to put some grooves at the bottom. One, it helps with glaze, run. And the other is, if you're holding this thing from the bottom, you've got a few little grooves here to actually get your hand into. And so most of these I do that way. Then we'll just take a little bit off right here to make sure everything's even. This speckled clay, once in a while, I'll get a pretty good chunk in it, and then it makes a line, so I've got to go a little deeper with it. Maybe we'll go a little more. Go. Now is when I put my little signature mark in here. I got these online, and I basically sent them what I wanted. I would have to find a link of who I bought these from. But I had a handmade little peace sign I did out of oven clay, and I sent them a picture of it, and they replicated it into this little marker. And I put this on the bottom of my pieces, and I put it in the handle of my mugs. I'm just kind of a peaceful guy. And I like to express peace. Wish everybody could just get along, you know. But there it is. This is the piece, and then we'll go on and we'll put a handle on it. See how that is trimmed. So easy. It's got my mark in it. I've got a little foot on it. I've got this thing just ready to go. And then I'll show you how I do my handle here in just a second. Okay, now I'm ready to make the handle for this little mixing bowl, what I call the Saturday egg bowl. These are large paint sticks that I've gotten from Home Depot or Lowe's. I take a little piece of clay, almost out of. This is just clay that matches this bowl. I actually picked up this little rolling pin, this wood rolling pin at an Asian market. Like I've said before, it's like you can't be out if you're a potter and you don't see things that you want to use, you want to replicate. And then this used to be a biscuit cutter. This was a little cookie cutter, biscuit cutter. It was round. I've made kind of an oval out of it. I actually squeeze it back and forth sometimes for different shapes. But I make this right here, cut that out just like that. Throw that to the side. These are so easy to do. And then I'm going to take this little cutting tool and I'm going to cut it about in half. About like that. Just about like that. All right, so you can see what I've got here. It's not perfect. I don't want it to be perfect. That's the beauty of these little things, is that they are just, you know, they're handmade. They're neat to use. If you want perfect, go get something at Walmart. Straighten that up a little bit. It's still pretty soft, like I say. And then if you can see that, I'm just going to line up that handle right there. I'm going to use, maybe I can use this to just kind of come straight across on it. Make sure we're fairly centered. I'll make a mark on either side there. Then I'll take this serrated rib to just serrate that right there, or scratch that clay. Same thing right here. I'm just going to scratch it in there. I don't use slip very often. I basically just use water. I use this little brush that was from Hobby Lobby. It's a painter's brush, a master's touch brush. And I'll wet both of these. Line that thing up based on my marks and my visual. And I'm going to push that in there. I'm going to hold it. Because on these, if you do a handle like this and somebody buys 2 or 3 of them, which I do have customers that will buy more than one, or I make some big ones, I make some small ones. With a handle like this, they stack. We have a couple in the house and they stack very nicely in a drawer. They close. A handle that comes out like a mug handle, those are not going to stack. And this is just the beauty of this, is it works so well for storage. That handle, and you can see I'm done there pretty much. Sometimes I'll use this little rubber tool I got down at the Pottery Supply House for shaping and stuff. And I'll just run a line, hoping you can see this. I'll take, and just right where that joint is, I'll come right across there to just help make that seal. And then I'll pick that up and I'll do the bottom side the same way. Just really closes that up. Use my thumb right there on the end. And there you have a handle and a mixing bowl. This is speckled clay, like I said before. And then I'll show you, here's the finished product. With that, all I'll do is I'll put snow, or like on this one, it was probably honey flux. This is one that I use on a regular basis inside. You know, you can hold it like that. It's easy to pour with, easy to grab, easy to stack, and you can't beat that. And then I have some small, if I can find them real quick, I'll show you. These little whisk, you buy a pack of 10 of these for just almost nothing on Amazon. Put that in the shop, little mixing bowl. It's got my card on it. It's got my signature on the bottom. Has a little whisk in it. I call it a Saturday egg bowl. Give it a shot. Those are easy. They sell well. You'll have fun doing them. There you go. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. I appreciate all of you. Have a great, great day.